AfriForum. Basically, you are saying you are going to a setup that mimics the kind of work they do. But of course, you know, as recently as yesterday or the day before, we've had an executive order signed by the president of the US, which was lobbied by organizations like AfriForum, so which basically give those who want to go to United States as refugees. So it's so I mean, what's your take on that one? I mean, after just speaking about AfriForum now, so what do you make of all of this?
Well, first of all, the civil society space is not a mimic, and it's not unique. It is not even an initiative, as it were. In the history of the liberation struggle, there's been a lot of civil society work. I think that AfriForum is trying to mimic the civil rights movement, it's trying to mimic the UDF, it's trying to mimic all those organizations, the anti-apartheid movement. But what it truly is, AfriForum, it's a racist counter-revolutionary package that is at the center of undermining progress in South Africa, that is at the center of undermining the objectives of making equality possible. It is informed by the refusal and the fear that sometimes reigns within the white community of being scared of equality. I know they will not be able to go anywhere in the world where they will be able to sustain the white privilege and the racism that sustains their existence in South Africa. Of course, if they decided to leave to the US, we must all in unison say good riddance to anybody in the world who does not buy into the principles of justice, of equality, and above all, of transformation. This country has a responsibility to resolve inequalities, including those that stem from apartheid and colonization, and the land is at the center of it. Anybody who wants peace in South Africa needs to legally, to calmly deal with the land question. AfriForum is not contributing to that. As a matter of fact, it's part of reactionary counter-revolutionary forces who actually will celebrate at the destruction of South Africa's society.
Let's touch on the GNU. What's your opinion of the GNU? So would you have constituted it this way, or would you would have gone differently?
I think that there should still be a rigorous conversation. And as I said to the tweet that you mentioned earlier, my hope is that there would be a radical, selfless, non-egotistical conversation in the progressive left. Because whether we like it or not, the moment of the absence of MKP and the EFF in the GNU basically donated the ANC to the liberal establishment. And they are waging a war. That was a very weak ANC, an ANC at 40% and all of that. Of course, some of these concerns for why that didn't happen have legitimacy. But my hope is that there would be, a radical conversation for the progressive forces in the country, so that you are not in a coalition government in which every day you are disagreeing about Bella Bill, about Expropriation Act, about NHI, that the battles would be put elsewhere in the implementation of the things that will improve the living conditions of our people, not in the policies that are a heritage of liberation, a heritage of the anti-colonial and liberation struggle. And so I look forward, I'm hoping that day will come when the progressive forces will be able to work together unapologetically to transform South Africa inside government.
Well, obviously you're no longer the member of parliament. I don't think progressive forces, particularly in parliament, see themselves that way now, I think after recent events, because I think your former leader has basically said they don't want to see MK anywhere. And what is your take on MK as a party existing, and then why do you think they somehow can't find each other with the EFF? I know you said that entanglement could have caused this. Just
No. I think that there has to be some honest reflection on the part of both forces to appreciate that it's certainly on the part of the leadership of the EFF. There was a tactic, a deliberate tactic of entangling us, first with President Zuma and secondly with the MKP, to the extent that there was complete policing that we don't criticize the MKP during the elections. Despite the fact that on the ground, we could see that it's costing us. And the second part is to appreciate that the cause is about our people. The cause is above the colors. The cause is written in the blood of the fallen fighters from the wars of colonial dispossession, as well as up to, Marikana. That is the cause. And we've got to be able, as it were, to rise above, because I totally disagreed with the MKP. I totally disagreed with President Zuma. But there are 2.3 million people behind that political party, which is speaking your language, which is borrowing from your script. But these people are also largely the working class. They are the oppressed. These people, you cannot say they're the enemy. You cannot say that you can't work with them. I don't know on which political, progressive, theoretical basis would you arrive at that conclusion. You can't do that. The ANC in 1959 couldn't wake up and say the PAC, because it broke away from them. It couldn't wake up and say the PAC is an enemy. On the basis of what? In the political discourse, in the political literature, including in your own documents, would you characterize that particular outfit which you were entangled to, which you entangled yourself to? You wake up in the morning without explanation and say they are now an enemy. The SACP, for an example, couldn't wake up in the morning and say the ANC in 1944, in 1947, in 1952, they couldn't wake up in the morning and say these are enemies, because you are all fighting against the destruction of apartheid. There is a picket line. If you've been, as it were, an activist, a political activist, political action must always be grounded in political explanations. The picket line is what draws us between friends and enemies of the revolution. I think that that time will come. There was a time, you would know, Mzwai, when we fiercely fought President Zuma. And, one day we were entangled with him. 6-7 years later, we were entangled with him. And that tells you that these disagreements are temporary, because the conditions on the ground will dictate that you cannot be few. You can't afford, as the people who want progress in this country, to constantly enjoy being divided by the enemy. Your success lies in uniting your forces. And who are these forces? It's the working class. It's the workers, it's the unemployed, it's the black people, it's the coloreds, and so on. And those are the forces. You always have to act in their interest. And I really think that the conditions are going to dictate certainly towards that direction.
Well, moving towards closure now, you did indicate that you're moving towards academia, towards civil society. Just perhaps if you can just summarize exactly where is Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi going, Ndlozi going now that you are out of party politics?
As I said, until recently, I didn't have any thoughts of leaving the EFF or leaving party politics. And so it is only safe to say at this moment, that is my consideration. That is the direction that my life is taking. What is important today is to bring closure to the public, to the people that we had served. I will cherish my days. It was a privilege to have been given that opportunity to serve in Parliament, to serve in the various structures of the EFF. I will cherish those days of my life, all my living days. I will cherish that particular privilege, and three different, or rather three aspects with which I'm going to be going into my direction. I'm fortunate that in the way I have developed in my life as a young man, I was never a one-dimensional person. So I will put all my talents into service in the academy, as well as contributing to the upliftment of public discourse, but certainly the conversation with all South Africans of a common mind of how do we constitute a civil society outfit that emphasizes that the people are the liberators, that emphasizes community development, that emphasizes the notions of freedom in which we fight against the conditions that stop us from being responsible for ourselves, but also that is steeped in research as well as advocacy, very, very ground-driven. As the civil society organizations and the civil society speech, which stems from our constitution, by the way, that we had seen in democracies, but certainly in the liberation struggle. I think that space is a space that we have neglected, and is the space where even the renewal of the entire political terrain in South Africa may come from. So that's basically where I want to go put my energies. And I must state on the record that I hold nothing whatsoever personal against my brothers and sisters in the EFF. And I really wish them the best. And I wish that they could continue with the same commitment that we had demonstrated over the last 11, 12 years in advancing the cause of economic freedom in our lifetime.